Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry here with the Stoner as we're swapping back and forth here on the live stream as we do after every game. The instant reaction. Stoner popped in just as we were going. So did we do a cold open?
We did not. No,
did not. We didn't even do the right intro. That's the beauty of doing things live. Let me break it down here for you. Baltimore Ravens 30, Washington Commanders 23. Both teams now 4-2 on the year. Of course, that means no Washington onesie here for me. Jayden Daniels 24 for 35, 269 yards and 2 touchdowns today. Lamar Jackson 20 for 26, 323 yards, a touchdown in that early interception that Washington unable to capitalize on. This was a game where I feel like probably too many fans, Stoner, were probably too comfortable losing, and it didn't seem like that's how the Washington Commanders took this. They went in there and they wanted to win this game. Of course, falling up short. What are your overall thoughts here on the game?
Well, I'm struggling with the whole term. I know it's going to be talked about a lot this week, but I'm struggling with the term moral victory, right?
Sure.
Kind of what you were just talking about there, where you were saying that too many people are kind of okay with going in there and possibly losing. Nobody's going to be happy losing. Nobody. And let's make that very clear from the top. Nobody's going to be happy losing. But this is a team that's obviously the expectations were so low coming into this season that we all looked at the Baltimore game on the schedule and we said loss. Every single one of us said that. Baltimore coming off an AFC Championship game appearance, reigning MVP in Baltimore, and we didn't know what the Washington team was. So in that sense, we played toe-to-toe with them all the way until the very end of the fourth quarter. And so in a way, hear me out, Nathan, in a way, it was a bit of a moral victory. You were saying, hey, we can play with the big boys.
Sure.
We lost. We hate it. Everybody hates it. Nobody's going to be happy with it. But we played with the big boys, and we didn't embarrass ourselves like we have in years past. So there is a silver lining. Maybe we'll just rename it. This was a silver lining game. There's a lot to look forward to for the rest of the season.
You know, I'm going to be in stark disagreements here on several points, and I'm going to get to those here in a moment. But first, we got to say hi to all those joining us in the stream. We've got Uptown Dre, Luis, Brian, Matt, Anthony, Ray, and the Rula Tube as well. And the first one here is I'm going to go to the Rula here. One, thanks for joining us, and second, his comment here, Joe Witt might be worse than Ron. That's not even close. Not even close here. Or even Jack Del Rio. This defense coming in here had issues, but it was coming off back-to-back good games. This game, Stoner, I will say the defense, and this is one of those things you're talking about silver linings, and this is where I will go with the rule here, is there's no silver lining with this defense. This defense is not where it needs to be this season to be as competitive as their record indicates.
Yeah.
So where's the silver lining with you? Because they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson, MVP, by the way, 2-time MVP. They couldn't stop Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs of all time. So, I mean, this is an offensive juggernaut. They're the second highest scoring team in the league, right behind Washington. Both teams scoring pretty close to their average, but I think Washington falls just a little bit under their average of this game. But the thing is like you have to be able to stop them. You can't let Zay Flowers go off for a career day. 9 catches in the first half, 111 yards in the first half. You can't let Mark Andrews, who's been so not here this season that I dropped him in fantasy.
Yeah.
And then he has himself a day. This defense, it's missing pieces, and it's only going to get worse, Stoner, as Dorrance Armstrong left the game, was in street clothes before they can even announce that he was out. And then Jonathan Allen out with a pec injury as well. This defense is not good enough to lose 2 pieces like those two. So where's the silver lining for you with the defense?
Okay. You just said all of that, Nathan. You just said all of the downside of this defense, and still you're within 1 score in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
That's the silver lining.
And the offense was not clicking.
And the offense was not as good as they have been for the past 4 games. So you kind of put all of that together. There's your silver lining. You just said they went with an AFC championship appearance team last year in Baltimore, the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson, one of the best running backs of all time in Derrick Henry, all of those things that you just said, and still they were within one score in the fourth quarter. And they never got a chance to get the ball and be able to make up that one score because they couldn't stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running the ball at the end. But still, that's the silver lining, Nathan, is that in years past, you go up against a big boy, you go up against Buffalo in a litmus test game like last year and you get
blown out.
Right? Or you go up against any other team and it's a litmus test and you get blown out. And they didn't get blown out. They were hanging all the way. It was tied at the end of the first quarter. It was, what was it at halftime? Was it, I don't even remember. So, they were down 17-10.
17-10 at halftime.
They were right there, Nathan. They were right there. And you had an offense that wasn't clicking on all cylinders like they have in the past, and you had a defense that couldn't stop anybody. And yet they were right there.
The only time it was a sizable lead was 27-13 after Derrick Henry's 7-yard run with 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Washington answers very quickly with a Terry McLaurin 6-yard pass from Jayden Daniels to make it 27-20. But it just kind of, at that point, I will say, like, it felt like we were nipping, but it felt like we were always just out of reach there. I'm not down on the team. I'm not saying that it's a bad loss. I'm disagreeing in the sense that it's a moral victory. I'm disagreeing in the sense that this is, because I think this goes to speak to what Adam Peters, what Dan Quinn want to build here, what Jayden Daniels wants. They're not walking away with like, well, we fought hard and we were close and we were almost there, right? They're going to be upset with themselves, and they're going to go back and be like, hey, Cliff Kingsbury, I know he's kicking himself. His offense today was poo-poo.
Yeah.
I know we scored, 20 points, 23 points here, but it just never, you didn't see long sustained drives. You never saw what this offense was capable of, what we've seen previously. And it's not like they're not. Baltimore, before the game, had talked about how this was going to be a different defense than Jayden Daniels has faced all season. Yeah. And they weren't wrong there. Now, that being said, Jayden Daniels still pretty effective passer, 24 for 35, 269 yards, as mentioned there. He did take 3 sacks, but on the ground, he just didn't get anything running. I mean, to be fair, Washington didn't get anything running without Brian Robinson. Jayden Daniels, 6 carries for 22 yards. Eckler, 9 for 21. Jerry McNichols, 2 for 9. How big was the loss of Brian Robinson for this game?
Yeah, it's massive. And it's not like if Brian Robinson would have been in there that he would have had some sort of 80 to 100 yard game against this defense. This defense was only giving up 60 yards a game rushing, and that actually goes down after this Washington game. But the threat of Brian Robinson and the Brian Robinson getting those tough yards, those short yards that they need when it's maybe it's a 3rd and 5 and he can get 4 of those yards to set up a makeable 4th down conversion. All of those things are so important to this team to be able to allow Jayden Daniels then to make plays in the RPO game as well. When you have Austin Eckler back there and you have Jeremy McNichols, they're not the same kind of back that Brian Robinson is. And Brian Robinson is a guy who pounds the ball and puts a hurting on the defense. And when you don't have that, regardless of who you have back there, it's going to affect the effectiveness of your offense. And you saw that throughout the game today. And they really didn't even try either, right? They only had 18 rush attempts, and probably, I would say, 1 to McLaurin was behind the line. So you don't really count that because that was really a pass. And Jayden Daniels had probably 3 scrambles. So that's 4. So that's 14 rushing attempts.
And a close game, a very close game. Yeah. The disparity on this offense was a little interesting. And now some of that is, Stoner, what Baltimore was doing on defense, right?
Yes,
they were trying to take away. They were forcing it. You heard on the broadcasts, Tony Romo talking about how you don't want Jayden Daniels running to his right? Because he's going to throw one on you. But if you get him running to the left, he's going to probably just run it. And so, they knew that, and they worked to keep him inside the pocket. They worked to try to get him to throw. Now, Cleveland tried that last week, and it didn't work. And it almost didn't work for Baltimore this week, because if you want one silver lining, you want to take anything away from this game, Jayden Daniels really is a good QB. Like this is not a fluke. This is not just, they don't have enough tape on him. Defenses are throwing everything they've got at this young man, and he is just being a veteran presence almost. Absolutely. I hate that. It's overused in broadcasting, right? Like, he's a rookie, but he acts like a 10-year vet type deal. I hate to use it, but it's true. It's unbelievable the way that, and the poise that he has to do that. And yes, TJ here, every time Jayden Daniels gave us hope, the defense said, hold my beer. And it really did. I mean, it was just like Jayden Daniels would throw something up. Terry McLaurin had himself a day with the 6 catches, 53 yards and 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. So bad that Trev could not even bother to show up today. No, he's taking care of family members, so we wish him and the family well. So you take care there, Trev. But
Jayden had a really good game. He did not have one of his stellar games that he's had in the past 4. He didn't have a bad game either, kind of like he did in his first game, which I thought was a little uneven. He was very good in this game. But there were just a couple of plays here and there that really affected. I don't want to say that it affected the game, the outcome of the game, but when a certain play affects a drive, either continuing a drive or stopping a drive or whatever, then it really affects the outcome of the game. That drop by Zacchaeus on the one play was a tough play to overcome for the offense when you have a first down, and he just took his eye off it and he tried to make a move before he had it. And those are killer kind of plays. And then the St. Juiced pass interference that was not pass interference.
Yeah, rough call.
That was a 3rd and 5, and Baltimore was on their own 40. They're punting if they don't call that. And but they end up going down scoring a touchdown, right? That's a huge play in the game. And I don't want to say it's the referee's fault, because, they make mistakes all the time.
It happens. All the time. You have to be able to overcome that too.
And that's asking a lot of Jayden Daniels to consistently do this over and over again and overcome a defense that's just not playing that well and giving up 30 points a week. It's not going to get it done, even though they've been good the last couple of weeks. But this week they couldn't stop Lamar. They couldn't stop Derek.
Yeah, you can't be in these situations where you got to win barn burners all the time. Brian here, I refuse to lay this all on the defense. Offense did not do enough either, and that's kind of what we're talking about here, Brian. And we're going to get to the defense, because the defense has got to get picked apart a little bit, because as not good as the offense was today, as they had been all year long, there's parts of the offense that I think that we can hang our hat on. There's a lot less I feel like we can hang our hat on the defensive side, especially going to be missing some things here. So let's stick with the offense real quick. One of the things that hurt today, 3rd down efficiency, 4 for 12. Washington all season long has been doing a great job staying out of 3rd and long situations, moving that ball forward on 1st and 2nd down. Their EPA efficiency was off the charts coming into this game. This time, not great on 1st and 2nd down, meaning that their 3rd downs were 8 yards and further for them to try to get, which led to a lot of punting this time. As I mentioned, 4 of 12. I think they were 57. They're first in the league going into this game in 3rd down conversions, making 57% of them. To only get a 1/3 of them this game was one of the big reasons why Washington lost this game. They just could not sustain drives the way that they had. If Brian Robinson is out for more than just a game or two, how is Cliff Kingsbury going to take this game and be like, we need to improve on what we have here?
Well, the good thing is you're not going to be facing a defense that only gives up 60 yards a game every single week. You start looking ahead to the teams that you have, and you have Carolina, Chicago, New York, the next three, and every defense has its strengths and weaknesses, and those three teams, their strengths are not stopping the run. So that helps a little bit, but you're going to have to start possibly using Jayden Daniels a little bit more in the run game. He only had 6 rushes today. I believe 3 of them were scrambles, and so they only had 3 planned runs this week, when normally I think he's averaging like 12 runs a game. And you're going to have to lean on that a little bit on your quarterback.
That makes me worried. That makes me worried. He took a lot of hits today that did not look comfortable, Stoner. He is going to be in that ice bath, feeling it tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. And I will say this. I didn't want to say anything previous during this whole week. I've been sick anyways. That's why there was no Ask Nathan. But I just kept thinking about when RG3 got his leg snapped by Nagata. And that's all I can play over and over in my head this week was that play. And just hoping we weren't going to see it with Jayden. So every time he took hits against those purple jerseys, and he took a couple big hits there, I was nervous. And so I like him as a dual threat QB. You have to be able to use those speed, the speed that he brings, the athleticism. But I don't agree, relying on it so much that it's what the offense does, because he is so much more than that. And somebody here, Jesse here, Jayden's ball placement was very impressive. Ravens limited and kept contained. And Jesse's absolutely right. I mean, his ball placement was right where he needed to on both touchdowns. He was moving defenders with his eyes. You don't have to go to a straight running game because Jayden Daniels can beat these teams in the air, but you do need to have some threat of the running game so that way they can't just tee off on him. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he had a couple of bad throws. I thought, that throw obviously on the run was to Noah Brown. It was way over his head. Off. Should have been intercepted, but wasn't. That was really the first interceptable type pass that he's thrown in quite a while. That was a turnover worthy play right there. That should have been. But otherwise, you're right. He is so accurate with his throws, as Romo mentioned on one play, that he knows which shoulder to throw it to because of where the defender is coming from, and he knows to throw it on the opposite shoulder. So none of this is on Jayden Daniels, but it is a little bit on the offense as well, because we've seen during the 4-game winning streak, the offense has been controlling the ball, controlling the clock, running the ball, keeping the ball out of the other team's hands. That allows the defense to rest. That allows them to be able to rotate quite a bit and have, those interior defensive linemen 40 snaps a game rather than the 70 that they've been playing in years past. So the offense can help the defense out quite a bit. And in this case, in this game, it was not the case, because Baltimore controlled the ball and allowed their defense to rest and put a lot of pressure on this defense to try and stop. And when you got Derrick Henry coming at you consistently, time and time again, it's just a difficult offense to stop in Baltimore. But yes, everybody has to help everybody. And the offense can help the defense. The defense got to help themselves as well, but it is a little bit on the offense today.
Absolutely. Now, this is a game Washington lost by 7. I think the final line was 7.5, and you could get out to Bet Online and tell them that Believe here sent you, because they've got all sorts of things going on. You can pick games, try to win $200,000. You can go to any of their 150 tables afterwards. They have poker, they have blackjack. That's Bet Online, where the game starts. Now, the thing here is that even though Washington was predicted to lose, this was a game everyone wanted to watch. This was a game that I think a lot of eyes were on. So before we get to the defensive side of the ball, Stoner, I just want to ask, what did the national side, because this game again was across pretty much most TVs, people were tuning into this game. to see the exciting young rookie with against a two-time MVP. What did they walk away with thinking about this team?
I think thinking about Washington specifically, they walked away watching Jayden Daniels and say, well, this kid's got a bright future. They were not disappointed when they watched Jayden Daniels play in this game. Because he did everything that he needed to show that he is a big-time quarterback. I mean, the efficiency was still there. The escapability was still there. The accuracy was there. Throwing 2 touchdowns, not turning the ball over. They walk away, the outsiders walk away looking, Jayden Daniels is going to be a problem for the rest of the league. That if some of the NFC East fans were watching, they were watching and saying, he's going to be a problem for the next 10 years. The next 20 games against my team, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he legit, this isn't burgundy and gold glasses. He legit, by the end of the season, could be considered the best QB in the NFC East.
Oh, I mean, he's probably considered the best QB in the NFC East right now.
Yeah, it's hard to argue, right? Because Dak Prescott's having a not great start. Jalen Hurts is not having a great start. And of course, you got Danny Dimes, who no one's going to back as the best QB in the NFC East. So
that's right.
Jayden Daniels has a legit shot at finishing the season as the best QB in the NFC East, which is exciting, which hopefully will leave for a lot of flaws, cover up a lot of flaws here. JG bringing up something here as we switch over to the defensive side. Ravens defense has been practicing against a dual threat QB a lot longer than the Commanders defense, right? That's something that I think a lot of people are putting some stock into, Stoner, was they have to go up against Lamar Jackson, right? And practice. They get to learn those tendencies. They know how to, go up against kind of a dual threat QB. Washington, not so much. They're a lot of new pieces and a lot of pieces they're kind of getting together and just learning how to do that. And how much do you put into that from JG, that the defense probably suffered a bit because they don't play against Lamar Jackson on the regular, and the Baltimore defense was able to stop Jayden to an extent because they do face off against Lamar Jackson?
I don't know if I put a whole lot of stock into that, because Washington defense, whether it's new guys or not, you're still practicing against them. You've been practicing against Jayden Daniels for the last 3 months. So I don't know if it's that big of a concern. I mean, the Ravens have a lot of new guys on their defense as well. There's a few holdovers, but I mean, I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that unless Washington didn't have Jayden Daniels on their own. If Washington was facing in practice every week Matt Stafford, well, then that would make a whole lot more sense to me. But they're still dealing with Jayden Daniels every single practice for the last few months. And so I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. I get it. I understand what they're trying to say, that Lamar's been there a long time, but those defenders haven't all been there a long time. A couple maybe, but yeah.
Sure.
I'm just not that buying into that too much.
One of the things Washington's defense couldn't stop today was the run from Baltimore. They had Derrick Henry with 24 carries, 132 yards. Lamar Jackson adding in 11 and 40 there. Total was 37 carries for 176 yards. Time of possession, Stoner, was a nearly 2-1 favorite over there. 36 minutes for the Ravens, 23 minutes, nearly 24 minutes for the Commanders. And honestly, when you look at some of these stats, 6 for 10 on third down, 484 total yards.
Yeah.
It seems like Washington maybe kept it a little bit closer than what they probably should have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I thought defensively they weren't that great, but they took advantage of a couple opportunities with the interception. And look, the defense is going to have trouble with good quarterbacks for the rest of the year. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They have had trouble with good quarterbacks all year so far. Baker Mayfield tore him up. Joe Burrow tore him up. And then now right here, Lamar Jackson tore him up. The problem with this defense is twofold, and we've talked about it a gazillion times, right? They can't get enough pressure on the quarterback. And if you can't get enough pressure on the quarterback, then the guys in the back end who aren't good enough are going to get exposed.
Sure.
And
I want to clarify, it's not a lack of pressure, Stoner, because they're getting pressure. They actually have some of the highest pressure rates in the league.
Okay.
The problem is they're not closing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's it. So we need some kind of delineation. Okay.
Okay. All right.
We need to draw a line in the sand and
Yeah.
what is a good pressure and what is not a good pressure. Because
Yeah.
right now I am getting very as the stats guy, as
Yeah.
the nerd who likes these kind of stats, I'm getting
Yeah.
really tired of seeing these pressure numbers and not seeing results.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm okay. That's fair that they are getting enough pressure, but a top quarterback can expose that pressure that you're
Sure.
talking about. And
Mhm.
Lamar did that over and over in this game,
Yeah.
throwing guys open. He knows where the guys are going to be, period. And he's going to throw it there. There was a couple of those times. And look, there was the Andrews was wide open once. Bateman was wide open once. But there was a couple of those throws that the defender was right there on the guy. But Lamar Jackson knows where he's going to be. And he's got 6-7 guys coming at him. And he's going to throw to that spot because he knows he's got one-on-one coverage.
Yeah.
And we don't have a stud back there to be able to knock plays down. People are all over St. Just, and rightfully so. I'm telling you right now, Nathan, he wasn't terrible this game. He was not terrible. I'll go back and I'll watch the whole game again, right?
You better watch that all 22.
Terrible. He was there on a lot of plays, but because Lamar's throwing a great pass, it doesn't matter if you're right there. I've said it for years, Nathan. You can have the worst wide receiver go one-on-one with the best corner, and 99 out of 100 times, the worst wide receiver is going to win on every play because it's just that difficult to cover a guy one-on-one. If the receiver knows where he's going and the defender doesn't know where the receiver's going, then the receiver's going to win. Dax Milne is going to beat Marlon Humphrey 99 out of 100 times if they're going one-on-one.
He brought up Dax Milne.
Dax Milne is going to
Luke
beat him.
McCaffrey, man. I wish we can get him out on the field. One catch, one target today.
They need to get enough pressure. And if you're going against a quarterback who can't make the plays, right, then they're going to make the plays. Joe Burrow's going to make the plays. And Baker Mayfield's going to make the plays. Lamar Jackson's going to make the plays. You know who's not? Deshaun Watson's not. Kyler Murray's not. Daniel Jones is not. Right? And then when you get to going down the road, guess who's not going to make the plays? Andy Dalton's going to make some, but he's not going to make all the plays. We'll see about Caleb. Caleb, can make plays, right? Daniel Jones is not going to be able to make enough plays consistently. Justin Fields is not going to be able to make enough plays consistently. And then we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Will Levis or who's ever going to be quarterbacking in Tennessee, I don't even know. I don't even care. But it's the point that if they're going to play quarterbacks that can make plays and bail out when they're under pressure, then they're going to have trouble because they don't have studs back there in the back end.
Before I tackle the St. Just deal here, we got Angela with a $5 donation. Thanks, Angela, for joining us today here. We ran with the big dogs. We found we have things to learn. We couldn't do it this year's past. Chins up, chest out.
What's that called, Nathan? What's that called?
I believe you're going to call that a moral victory. Silver lining game, whatever you want to call it. Angela is walking away with this, as I believe most fans are, which is feeling pretty good about the team, which I agree because of the body of work they've put in to be 4-2. I'm saying this particular game, I'm not walking away with rosy feelings about it. I'm walking away thinking we lost this game because we stunk on offense and we stink on defense. And I want you to note the terms there, right? Offense was stunk. This is a one game, deal where they didn't do well. Okay. This is already in the past. I believe next week against Carolina, they're going to go lights out. Now, the defense probably is going to play pretty good against Carolina as well, but the defense has yet to prove. They stink, okay? They just are bad, and I am going to get there. But yes, Angela, we appreciate it. Thank you very kindly. And again, I think most people are with Angela here. They're very proud, and I think we have every right to be. We keep wearing your burgundy and gold, whether or not it's Redskins or a football team or Commanders. If it's that RG3 jersey behind Stoner, keep rocking it, because it is awesome to be in the district right now. I know I'm in Oklahoma. I kind of miss this. I used to do public transit all the time. I loved wearing my Washington stuff. I loved seeing when other people were rocking their Washington stuff. And we have every right to be excited. We have a QB. We have a competent coach. We have a competent GM. And I think everything is going to end up working out. So there's absolutely good vibes coming. Yeah. I'm just talking, this is an instant reaction over this game. Yeah. And you should be mad at this game and how this went. But we can't be mad at Matt with a 1999 donation. And Matt, I think, would agree with me a little bit. But this game, you know, we expected more. I know I picked Washington to win, but that's also because, and I know I've been missing because of my show, which, by the way, is going to be fantastic. But I was just going to keep picking Washington until they lost, because it was just, they could do no wrong. They felt inevitable. They just felt like they are going to keep winning. That's how it felt when we were down 7 was, hey, get one stop and Jayden Daniels is going to win this thing. Yeah. And that is how things are going here in Washington.
I think that's true, Nathan, that you kind of glossed over it a little bit, but I think if Washington gets the ball back, I think they end up at least tying the score. It would have been interesting to see if they went for 2 or not. I think we all would have wanted them to go for 2. I don't think they would have. But okay.
They had a extra point that was either nearly tipped or tipped. It was not very good, right? They had another kick that was tipped. So I think they would have gone for 2.
Okay, thanks well, again, Matt, for this then. And I got a real problem with this, Nathan. I got a real problem with this for this game. Okay, look, I'm not trying to make some big, broad statement or whatever. It's 4th and 5 from the Baltimore 37. 4th and 5 from the Baltimore 37, and you kick a field goal. Okay, successful field goal. Fine. I didn't like that play at all. I thought they should have gone for it. On the next time they had the ball, they had a 4th and 6 at the 44-yard line of Baltimore, and they punted. What happened to all the aggressiveness that Dan Quinn has shown all year to go for it? 4th and 5 at the 37? You can't stop Baltimore. You've shown it. It doesn't matter if you punt down to the 7-yard line, which is what they did, because Baltimore will go right down the field.
Yeah, Baltimore with 2 drives of 90 yards.
Yeah,
today.
They went right down the field and they scored a touchdown. So what's the difference of them doing it from 93 or them doing it from 56 yards away? I don't understand why they didn't go for it there on the 4th and 5 from the 37 and the 4th and 6 from the 44. Back-to-back possessions. Didn't like it. I didn't like those good. That's why I say I think they would have gone for the extra point, because he had shown all game that he wasn't going to be aggressive. And it played out that way. I mean, it could have played out that way, but they weren't aggressive enough, I thought. The coaching staff wasn't.
I think a lot of that happened to be with how this offense just wasn't firing on all cylinders. As EP joining us here, Jayden Daniels didn't do his normal running, right? Like, he was just being contained. And in those situations where you're talking 4th and 5, 4th and 6, one of the reasons why Washington 9 for 9 on the year, by the way, on 4th down. So not only does that mean that they're really good at converting on those 4th downs, but they're very smart when they go for it, Stoner, is what I'm hearing from you, because if they chose not to go for it, there's probably a reason. And I think one of those reasons is, as EP's pointing out, is Ravens were doing a good job containing Jayden Daniels. When you do that, those 4th and 5s, 4th and 6s are a lot harder to pick up when you take away Jayden Daniels' ability to get there, because he got on the outside a couple times, but he wasn't picking up the yardage that we had seen. So I think I wanted to stay on the defense, but you moved us over to the coaches. So I'm going to probably have to trash the defense during maybe the no-gos here. But the coaching decisions today, I felt on the offensive side of the ball, it felt really weird that I understand Baltimore's really good against the run. Okay. I'm not saying you have to force the run. And I know we're missing Brian Robinson, but it surely felt like they were just pretty much giving up the run from the get-go. They were choosing, like, we're just not going to run the ball. It's going to be window dressing today for the run. And that felt like a mistake. For the defense, you saw them, and I guess this is where I get the rag on the defense. Joe Witt Jr. Decided, they were trying some zone things, and then they went heavy man. We do not have a corner, not one. Sorry, I like Mikey Sanistrell, but we do not have one corner who can cover man right now. Sanistrell is probably the closest. Benjamin St. Juste, I'm sorry. You, as somebody had mentioned, you need your prescription check. Did I save that one? I didn't save that one. Whoever put that in there, absolutely get this man some new glasses. Maybe that's what we'll use Matt and Angela's donation for, is to get Stoner a new pair of glasses, because that prescription needs checked. Okay. Benjamin St. Juste, I'm not saying he's bad. And I will defend most of our players when it comes to this, because when you watch it, you're right. He is playing some decent coverage. He is close. He is there. The problem is that's not good enough. Okay. When you're talking about an offensive lineman who might be blocking for 2.57 seconds versus 2.75 seconds, that's an eternity for a QB. Likewise, a cornerback who allows 0.5 yards of separation to a cornerback who allows 1 yard of separation. That's all it takes. That's NFL open. And Benjamin St. Juste right now is allowing his wide receiver to be NFL open. And that's a problem. There's too many times, Stoner, where we've seen Benjamin St. Juste picked on. And Joe Witt Jr. is trying his best to try to mask the fact that all these corners are bad. How about Emmanuel Forbes? Last year's first round pick was a healthy scratch. Jamin Davis, a healthy scratch. I get it. This defense is lacking talent, and these poor drafts from the previous regime are bad. But my goodness, how bad do you have to be that you can't get on the field when this defense is that bad?
Yeah. Look, I'm not over here saying that Benjamin St. Juste is good or that he had a good game. I am saying that it's not quite as bad as everyone is kind of making it out to be. It wasn't great. He's the weak link on this team. And like you said, Nathan, they are going to exploit it. The other team is going to exploit it. Sanistrell is playing outside. He's not supposed to be playing outside. Why is he playing outside? Because Forbes isn't good enough. That rant you just had about Forbes being a healthy scratch. And then their offseason acquisition, Michael Davis, is not good enough to play outside. So a rookie who is playing the inside of the I missed that. A rookie that's supposed to be playing inside is better than your 2 of your 3 starters on the outside, and that's why he's playing outside. Why are you muted? You're muted somehow. Am I muted? You're muted. Yeah,
I'm muted.
Yeah,
good.
Muted.
Then you didn't
That's
hear
why
me
I was looking at you
Noah's
funny. I was like,
Iggy's name here. Because you're right. Sanistrell is supposed to be, he was drafted as a slot guy. He's an excellent slot guy. He's somebody who this team is excited about, which you should be excited about too as a fan. But the thing is they're pushing him outside because you can't start Forbes. You can't start Noah. You can't start Davis.
Well, you are starting Noah.
Well, you're starting
on
Noah
the other side.
Yeah, it's just not good enough here. Yeah. I'm going to give shout out Angela 2 more for Stoner's glasses. Matt throwing in another $4.99 here for those glasses. We're gonna get Stoner some new glasses here. We appreciate you both with those as we have fun here on our instant reaction live. The Jersey, Jersey had a good comment here. I'm not sure if I saved it, but yeah, all on St. Juste. There is too much I don't want to be too negative on this because this was a close loss, and I'm not going to go with the moral victory or silver lining thing that Stoner's going with. But I'm not going to allow criticism to pass where it's deserved, and it's deserved against St. Juste, and it's deserved against a pass rush that could not contain. It's deserved. You yourself was going in on Bobby Wagner. Okay. He's had a couple decent games this season, but by and large, Bobby Wagner that we're getting here in Burgundy and Gold is not the gold jacket Bobby Wagner of years past. Okay. He's a step slow. He's not John Bostic, as I might have alluded to at one point, but he is not Bobby Wagner. How critical, speaking of Bobby here, how critical was it that he did not have the awareness to jump on that failed snap, runs by it.
He was just so focused. But how can you be so focused when you didn't see the ball? I guess you're just so trained or whatever, just repped up. You've done so many reps of just going towards the quarterback. The ball's sitting right there. All you had to do is fall down. That could have been a huge difference in the game as well. But look, my last point, at least on BSJ, is if you could help double cover over there for BSJ, then that means you've got the horses up front to be able to get enough pressure on the quarterback to stop him. But they were playing 3 linebackers, which they have not played all year. They were playing 4 linebackers because Quan Martin was playing up in the box. They were literally playing a 4-4-3 defense. 4 down linemen, 4 linebackers. Mikael Walker played a bunch of snaps on defense today at linebacker because they had to stop Derrick Henry.
Over Jamin Davis, over a first-round pick from just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Who has size, speed, athleticism.
Yeah. Yep.
But and there's something missing. And Brian here asking a question I was asking myself at the beginning of the game here. The last time Forbes played, he did an okay job. And I'm not sure what he did to lose the chance to play to attempt to get better. That confuses me. It does. It confuses me too, Brian. What did Forbes looked okay?
When was that?
He looked okay the last couple games. He is not, we haven't had to call his name. We haven't had to sit there and pick on him. He wasn't the corner being picked on by opposing defenses.
Well, just an FYI,
I'm saying he played well enough. Jamin Davis, he had pressure the first game. And the next thing we know, he's healthy scratches.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand, again, with the defense playing this bad, how bad those two have to be. Because I do not believe Joe Witt Jr., Dan Quinn, or Adam Peters are doing this because, well, those are Ron's guys, not our guys.
No.
It's nothing to do with that.
Terry's a Ron guy. Oh, I guess he was not even a Ron guy. He was a Jay Gruden guy.
Yeah. And I think it's more so it's just what they're doing, what Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes are doing during practice is just not working. It's not impressing enough to get to see the field, which is depressing for Washington. If you want the silver lining for that, Stoner, those 2 failed picks at least got us Jayden Daniels.
That's true.
I mean, there's your silver lining right there.
Yeah. But not St. Juice, but Forbes played 4 snaps last week, Nathan. So I don't know where he played well last game. He wasn't good enough to play against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, he played 4 plays, defensive snaps against Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. So, and you could be right against the Cardinals that he might have played a little bit better in that game, but like he's just not good enough. They're not going to favor their own guys over other guys, previous regime guys. I mean, they gave Sam Cosmi an extension. That's a Ron guy right there. So we can just put that. If you can play, you can play. It's very simple. Jamin Davis wasn't out there. Forbes wasn't out there. And it's not for any other reason than they're not good enough.
Yeah. Period. What they're saying, they're in this to win football games. They don't believe, I know Matt was saying, and Matt had a similar feel to, I think, a lot of people. This is a rebuild year. I hear it a lot with the District Divided guys. Shout out to those two. Anything winning this year is ahead of schedule, right?
Great.
And it's a benefit, and it's just great, and it's a joy.
Yeah.
I understand that sentiment. I really do. But here's the thing is they're not looking at this as, remember, they didn't say this is a rebuild, right? This is a reconfiguration, something or other. Recalibration, right? They're in this to win football games. They don't want to sit there. This isn't Ron Rivera saying it's going to take 5 years, which it did. It just wasn't his 5th year that all of a sudden things are starting to turn around for Washington. So they're in this to play the best guys, and they're not doing it. And speaking of some of the best guys here, Ravens 76 B More coming in, and we appreciate you jumping in on our live stream here for our instant reaction. I will say this, Commanders, you guys have a star in Daniels. Please beat Steelers when you guys play them. Salute. Absolutely. Would
We've
love to
already
beat.
taken care of the Browns and the Bengals.
Yep.
For you, Baltimore. So
we'll do you one more solid here for the Ravens. But this is the big thing. We have opposing fans realizing Washington has the next star in the NFL.
Oh, 100%.
And that is fantastic here. Yam in the house. Our defensive coordinator, I think, is fine. They're doing what they can with the talent.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
100%. Yam. Yeah, the talent's just not there, and it's going to take probably a couple drafts. As much as we want to see offensive, get us a stud wide receiver, do all this other stuff, prepare for another draft where it's picks 1 through 3 are defensive players, because that is where Washington needs to be right now, as this defense just not good today, and a loss to the Ravens 30-23 and an away game. You want silver lining, you want moral victory, Stoner. That's where your headset is, your mindset rather. This is an out of conference game.
That's right.
Doesn't have a big factor, if at all, in tiebreakers at the end. Washington still first in the NFC East.
Yep. No matter what.
You've got that. Yep. Nothing going to do there. Detroit right now, end of the first, leading 7-3 over the Dallas Cowboys. Love to see that. And I also love to see our go-gos and no-gos. Let's work on those here. We like to, even though it's go-gos and no-gos, we always start with the no-gos because we like to end on the positive.
That's right.
So let's get our no-gos here. And I'm going to take off St. Juice because we've already talked about him.
We've already clubbed him enough.
Yeah. So let's hear who your no-go is, including in the chat. Your no-go. Who was the person who you thought did not live up to expectations for this game?
All right. I'm going to keep mine. Let's not take this as being that I'm down on the guy. Okay. But just in this particular game is I almost said Luvu. After everything he did last week, he was pretty much a no-show today. I think he had like 2 tackles or something like that. Let me see. Yeah. He had 2 tackles all day. But I think I have to go with Cliff Kingsbury. I didn't think he called a real good game. I thought actually early on he called some really nice plays to offset their inability to run the ball. You still got to pound the rock, Nathan. You still have to go in there and pound the rock. And they had 18 rushes, but as we talked about, 4 of those were scrambles or behind the line or behind him. Pass to McLaurin. So they had 14 rushes and 39 plus 42 dropbacks. 14 rushes, 42 dropbacks. That's very reminiscent of Eric Bieniemy last year.
Yeah.
Is just throw. I get that the Ravens have the best run defense and that they have the worst pass defense. I understand that, and you want to attack that properly. But 42-14 is not going to get it done. I don't care what league you're in. That's not going to get it done consistently. So I'll go Cliff Kingsbury for this week is my no-go for calling way too many pass plays.
Yeah, way too much. I very much agree in that. Luvu was a TJ's no-go for there. And I think that it should be somebody on the defense, but I'm going to go with you on the offensive side of the ball. You're talking about how the offensive coordinator didn't call a lot of runs. I'm actually going to go with one of our running backs in this regard, and that's Austin Eckler not doing enough with his opportunities. 9 carries, 21 yards. 2.3 average. Yeah. This is somebody who time and time again, I was told. Now, Eckler, 4 catches, 47 yards on 5 targets. So he was effective in the pass game. But specifically on the run side of things, this is where you guys were telling me he was a difference maker and down in the red zone and all this other stuff.
Not on the run side, we weren't.
And you guys were all trying to tell me and sell me on Austin Eckler should be listed as a stud when we went through the roster. And I said he's a good player, not willing to put him as a stud. And today, this is one of those days where it's just like he knows, Austin Eckler knows he's not a bell cow back anymore. He was asked to carry the rock 9 times. And when he's the sole ball carrier, it's not effective. He needs somebody like Brian Robinson there with Jayden Daniels, that 3-headed rushing attack, to be effective. I'm going to give my no-go to Austin Eckler.
All right. I think it's a little harsh, but sheesh. Yeah. All right.
JG giving Dan Quinn the no-go for his healthy cuts. Again, Jamin Davis, and they're just not good enough. I can't believe it. 2 former first-rounders just not finding a way to get on the field. Maybe that is on Dan Quinn. Maybe that is on Joe Witt Jr. You got to be able to find them. The problem is, usually at that talent level, like when you're talking a 4th rounder or 5th rounder, they're good for special teams, right? Because you can find time to put them on the field for some special teams because they've probably got a rep there or two. When you're a former 1st rounder, you're rarely seeing teams play. You're seeing all the action on the side of the ball that you were drafted for. And so you're not as good. Doesn't matter if you're a physically gifted specimen like Jamin Davis. You're just not going to be as good as someone like Ballore, who that's his sole job. He gets to practice that day in and day out. It's just not where it's going. Guy in Austin, Ray, I disagree with criticism of Kingsbury not running enough. We're missing our number 1 back and playing a team who is number 1 against the run. That's the strength of the Ravens defense.
I don't care. What's the strength? What is the identity of the Commanders' offense? Jayden Daniels in the run game. That's the identity of this offense. It's your strength. Their strength is to stop it. You impose your will on them. You don't react to what they're doing. We talk about that a lot, right? We impose our will on you. We don't allow you to impose your will on us. And so if you say that the strength of my team is running the ball, then run the ball. I get that Brian Robinson wasn't there. You still have to go out there and run the ball, at least attempt to run it, and show the defense that you are going to attempt to run it.
Yeah, one of the things we always talk about here on Ref the District, right? If you want to be a running team, then you have to run the ball when the team expects you to run the ball. And Washington was incapable of doing that. So despite the fact that on the year they were averaging 170 yards, they should have been able to do something against this number 1 defense, because that tells me they're not as good of a running team as we thought. So they've got to change some things. Brian's going to go with Jeremy Chin. Could not cover the tight ends. Yeah, they've got a couple good tight ends out there in Baltimore, and Jeremy Chin, not a coverage safety in there, but I can see that one. So looks like Yam here with this one was close. Yam, I'm going to let you know that one. My offensive no-go is Zacchaeus. 2 critical drops. Yeah, Zacchaeus had a couple nice catches. But there was a couple times where when you let those things go, it really, really does end up hurt. Angela checking for Trevor. He is taking care of a family member. So we wish him and his family member best as they're getting the care that they need. So family always comes first here on Ref the District. Let's move on here to our Go-gos, Stoner. Just keep it down to 1 Go-go.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. So who was your go-go? And let's hear in the chat who you have for your go-go on today's loss against the Ravens.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one to figure out. Before that, did Ben Sinnott play today?
He did.
Did you see him on special teams?
This is always, why does this get brought up all the time? I will not be surprised if this is in the Ask Nathan this week, which will probably come out on Tuesday with the holiday tomorrow. But everyone keeps asking about Ben Sinnott. He is. I told people at the beginning, don't get excited. He's the 3rd tight end, and they use him all the time. He sees quite a bit of snaps, but he is a blocking tight end right now.
Okay, I was just curious, and not that I need him to show up on the stat sheet. I just don't ever remember seeing him out there. Yeah. So okay.
That 82 stands out so well. I love me some tight ends and 80s, man.
I wish Trev was here to hear who my go-go is, but number 1 receiver, Terry McLaurin, still getting it done. Stop trashing Terry McLaurin. No, he's not a top 10 wide receiver, but he is absolutely a stud number 1 receiver that everybody would like to have. And now that he's got a quarterback who is looking his way more often, he's going to have a lot more games like this. He had 6 catches for 53 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 tough touchdowns, I might add. And especially the second one, that was a ridiculous catch.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I mean, even the first one, getting those both feet
Yeah.
in there
Oh,
while
yeah.
being pushed, it's just
Yeah.
fantastic work.
Excellent. And he's got 4 touchdowns this year already. He had 4 all of last year. This is what he can do when he has a real quarterback back there, which he has for the first time. And while he may not be as happy as he's been the last couple of weeks where he was, smiling and dancing and all that because they lost, he's still feeling really good about the way this season is going so far for him. So that's my go-go.
Yeah, Scary Terry, absolutely. A lot of people in agreement with you as far as that one is concerned, even EP chiming in there. Angela, go with Bobby Wagner. Love to hear that and want to see the reasoning there. Drew, thanks for watching. Johnny Newton, he's going to get a significant playing time with Jonathan Allen out with a pec injury. That could potentially linger. That's going to be something that we'll be watching here on Ref the District. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday live at 7:30 Eastern, as we will have all the good information for you on that one as well. So my go is going to be, somebody had else said it and I've lost it here in the chat. You guys are doing great. Luis, I liked Zach Ertz's effort today. Absolutely. I thought that it was nice. He came out swinging. He had 4 catches, 68 yards, the leading wide receiver for Washington on 5 targets. And I thought that was a quality effort from him, only trying to give somebody other than Scary Terry, who was absolutely my don't sleep player of the game. Don't Sleep Energy. Head on over to the don'tsleepenergy.com. Use the code DISTRICT to get yourself 10% off your entire order. Celebrate a DMV company who has an amazing logo and great products that will keep you alert the next time Washington goes down into the red zone. Don't Sleep Energy. It makes you great. Who is your Don't Sleep Energy player of the game?
I'm going to give you one that maybe didn't stand out to a lot of folks, but I really liked the effort today of Javonte Jean-Baptiste. He stood out for me today. Now, he only had 2 tackles, but I saw him getting involved in the run game quite a bit. He had, I think both of his tackles were on Derrick Henry, right, in the scrum. He made some plays. So good for a 7th-round rookie to go out there and make some plays against, a Hall of Famer like Derrick Henry. He was not intimidated by what was going on. Look, he got the start really in front of Jamin Davis, basically, right? He's probably the guy who's right there on the edge of who's going to get the jersey and who's not on Sunday. He got the jersey, and I thought he played pretty well. So I'm going to give mine to Javonte Jean-Baptiste.
Digging deep, not even a go for the guy. Giving him the don't sleep player of the game. Absolutely. I agree. I actually really like what I've seen from the young man, and you can see why this regime was okay letting somebody like KJ Henry get signed elsewhere. And that's a lot to speak on the talent that they're going to be bringing in over the years past. And as our man Ted here is trying to do here, is make us get away from some of this bad juju for the $10 donation here. Thank you very much, Ted. Enough with the violins. We're still a 10 to 12 win team. This is a small bump in the road. We are still ahead of schedule. Shake this off and beat Carolina. Ted, I'm not sure about 10 to 12 wins, but I got 2 wins coming up here for you and possibly a full 3. The schedule kind of opening up here for Washington. The Panthers, Bears, and Giants before the Steelers. The Bears, the lone team there in the 3 weeks that has a winning record.
Yeah.
I will be back the week of the Giants. Now, Stoner will be at that game.
Yes, I will.
So if you happen to be out there, you might want to hit him up and let him know, because he will be out there in New York City enjoying that one. But you're right. I mean, this is still a team that when you're looking at what they've done, what they've accomplished, and you look at the schedule, they've got some hard games. Okay. They've still got division games. Okay. They still have 2 against the Eagles, 2 against the Cowboys. Those are going to be the games that I think are really going to decide on whether or not Washington is a 10 to 12 win team. Because this team today did show that it can keep up. It's not a lost cause. It's not going to be a runaway victory for any team. And they've done that time in, time out, and that will be interesting. Mike H saying John Allen is done. We will see that, we'll check that, and we'll make sure to get some information up there. But this is an exciting team, and this is a great channel. We appreciate you for joining us here on Ref the District's Instant Reaction. We're live after every game, as long as it's not a primetime game, because we're old people now and we like our sleep. But we are live every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. Be sure to check us out and join the conversation. Ask Nathan will return, since I'm not under the weather anymore, but it will be on Tuesday. We appreciate everybody jumping in here with us tonight. And until next time,
was it a moral victory?
Be a fan.